What's up, YouTube? George's Silver Hunter back with part 4 of our giant silver coin purchase or coin collection purchase that we started a week or two ago. And today we're going to be going through these dimes. Now, I've already opened up most of the 1964 Philly and Denver, and they're just in a giant pile here. During the filming of part 1 of this, I did open one roll of Mercuries that were, if I recall, mainly in the 40s. We had a couple of really old Barber and Seated Liberty dimes that we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive on. And then we have a bunch more rolls to get into. And we will, like on the quarters, but hopefully not near as long, be doing a bit of a deep dive to see if there's any errors or varieties or key dates that we can find. I know one that I'm really keen to find is that 42 over 41 Philadelphia or Denver. And I understand there's a 45 micro S, which we'll be looking for as well. And then there's a couple of really low mintage quarters that we're going to look at. But I need to get these open and see how many Mercuries we have versus Rosies. We'll get them separated out, and we'll jump right in and see what we find. So we have finished the sort. And what you see in front of you, I tried to do a little bit like the quarters. But with the Mercury dimes, we're starting over here. I did end up with a 1916 Philly, and it's not the 1916D key date, but even this in a G4 is worth about $7. So I'm going to have a closer look at that and see what the grade is. Of all the coins I said I was looking for at the beginning, I don't have any 21s, I don't have any 26s, but I do have a small pile of 1942s that I'll be looking at under the scope for the 42 over 41. Coming around the horn, I mean, we had some 30s. We had a good deal of the 40s, like 40 through 45 we had, and we'll look for some 45 micro S's. I don't know if there's any mint marks because I didn't check them during the sort. So we'll see if we have any 45 S's, and if there's a micro, that's great. And then we had, I think, every year pretty much except 55, and I'm not sure they did a 55. Let me look real quick. 54. Yes, they did do a 55. I just don't have any. But we had pretty much from 46 all the way around to 64. And what you see here in the middle is a giant pile of 62 3s and 4s. I did separate my 60s and 61s, but it got a little tedious. And we'll do some close-ups here. I pulled a couple of really nice-looking coins as I was just sort of going through them. And then, of course, I will dive in at the end into these 2 Seated Liberties and these 5 Barber dimes, and see if we can ascertain a grade on those and see what those would be worth. So I'm going to go through this. It may seem a little haphazard, but I'm just trying to find if there's value here. A lot of the Roosevelt stuff I'm not going to go any deeper on, simply because I'm going to go blind. And, you know, there's not a whole lot of value in a lot of these dimes that we're looking at. But I'll give PCGS a second look and bring you in and let you know if there's anything that I do find. Along the way, I do have a Roosevelt dime book that is completely full from a previous coin purchase, and we will be looking to upgrade it. And I have a Mercury dime book that I know I don't have a lot of fillers. There's a couple I've already checked that I'll be able to fill, but we may also be looking for a few upgrades. So we'll also bring you in when we talk about that. Anyway, let me go hit the scope, and I'll bring you in at our first find. So we finished going through the Mercury dimes, and you'll see it looks a little different than it did at the beginning of this video. That's because I went through them. We didn't have any 42 over 41s. We didn't have any 1916Ds, no 1921s. And all of our 45s were Phillies, so we had no opportunity to look for a micro S. What I did do, though, was go down through my Mercury dime book from a previous collection and look where I had some either fillers or upgrades. And sure enough, we found a few. So we'll start with this 1916 Philly. I need to get a grade on it, but I'll bet it's close to G4. We had, I believe this was a 20, what was this one, a 27, I think? We did have a 28. We had a couple of 35s that could fill the book or replace some things in the book. We did have a 40, a couple of 40s actually, a 41, 42s, a 44, and a 45. And what I want to stop and show you really quickly is, as I was looking for things to replace in the book, the 45S that was in the book looked absolutely amazing. I'm going to put it under the scope here in just a second. And when I pulled the 45D, because it also looks really good, I got it under the scope, and surprise, surprise, it also was an S mint mark. So if you ever buy books in a collection and you think it's a full book, it might be worth popping to check, because this 45S was tucked away in that 45, or I'm sorry, I keep saying 45. This 42S was tucked away in the 42D. So let's put them under the scope just so you can get an idea how good these things look. So again, here's the 40, where is it? There it is. There's the 42. We put it underneath here. Look at how good these bands look. It's almost full band designation, but that middle band, it bleeds together a little bit. There has to be full separation there, I believe. But the back of this coin just looks amazing. I know we're zoomed really, really close, but I wanted you to see these stalks. Usually these stalks are worn pretty thin. You know, they're pretty flat. This is the other one, just to give you a comparison. Look how the separation is on those bands. And this one's probably the nicer of the two. I don't think this one would get full band, but I'm not an expert. But there is just a little bit of separation between those two in the middle. We're really, really close though. And what I was hoping for was there is an inverted S. There is an inverted S variety, and unfortunately neither of these two got there. I did have another 42 that looked like it might be an inverted S. However, it's really beat up, so even if it was, it wouldn't be worth anything. So anyway, let's move on to the Roosevelt Dimes and see if there's anything worth looking at there. I don't believe there will be. And then I'll take you in and we'll do a little bit of a deep dive on those Barber Dimes and those two Seated Liberties. So we finished sorting through everything, and we'll do a little bit of a mini wrap up here, but I do want to drill in and show you a couple more things with these dimes. But with what we had, we can start here. We had 46s, 47s, we had no 48s. I believe just one lonely 49, or I may have some up here. Those are all going to be book fillers, and we'll get into that. 50, 51, 52, 53s, 54s. We were missing 55. 56, 57, 58, 59, 60s. Here's my 61s, 62s, 63s, and these were all stacks of 10 in here. I don't know about the outside. And these were all the 64s, and we had 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, more than $25 worth of 1964s. And that was a lot of 64s to go through for DDRs and repunched mint marks. I do have a nice little stash over here of just beautiful, beautiful dimes that I found when sorting through all these. The lion's share of them are 1964s. I think I did have one just really, really beautiful. I think that's a 1960 that I had pulled aside here. And this is outside of anything that may have upgraded my book. And I showed this off earlier in the video, but this 19, I think it's a 43. Let's zoom in here so I can see that a little bit better. It was a 42, actually. This Mercury dime is going in a flip. It's just absolutely gorgeous. 42S. So we had some just real beauties in there that I will definitely be, putting in a tube or in a flip for a few of these that I will hang on to. I did want to turn your attention to the Seated Liberties and the Barbers. I did have a pass at each one. We'll talk about them very, very briefly. This 1891, it is no mint mark. Looking at PCGS photo grade, I would put this guy somewhere in the VF25 to VF30 range. And, according to Redbook, it's, a $40 to $60 coin. I did not look for this one on eBay, but I'm willing to bet you, 20 to 30 is probably not too hard to get, maybe closer to 20. But graded, it did say it was in that $40 to $60 range. And it is a nice looking dime. Obviously, if you paid to have it graded, you would spend more getting it graded than it was worth, but still a nice dime. This 1875, no mint mark, is probably in about good condition, maybe leaning more towards fair. Again, I think according to the book, this was like a $6 to $10 coin. I think you'd be really lucky to get more than maybe $2 or $3 for it on eBay. But it is a Seated Liberty dime. Moving our way through the barbers, we had some really cruddy ones. Here's an 1892. It was a New Orleans. This one I would say is in that fair to about good range because we're missing all that rim. We're missing a lot of the lettering. You know, this is probably melt. This is a melt value coin. So you can go look that up on Coinflation. I'll try to put it in the lower right hand corner, but probably like $1.50 or something like that is what melt would be on it. This is a 1911D. This one also in that kind of fair to about good range. Again, I looked this up. You could find these on eBay going for $2 to $3, which is over spot, but not a huge find. Same with this 1911. It too is a Denver. Similar condition to the last one. I would guess $2 to $3. Now this one is decent. I wish you could see more of Liberty up there. I do think this one's going to be in that kind of G4 to G8 range. It is a 1908 Philly. Really good looking coin. Even as good as it is, you know, looking on eBay, I saw this thing going for like $4 to $5, $6. That is way more than melt, but I figured this would have fetched a lot more. I know according to Redbook and PCGS, I think it's worth a bit more, but you know, on eBay, a couple $4 or $5, what you'd probably get for it. Then of course you got to take out your fees and all that good stuff. And this coin was an absolute beaut. I would say this one is getting up there into the extra fine category. Unfortunately, we have a lot of ring dings and damage. We've got some scratches in the coin on the front. I don't recall what, I'll put it in the lower right-hand corner, what Redbook and PCGS said. But if you look on the back, you can see someone has scratched like a bunch of, like, it almost looks like a star down there underneath one dime, and that all but ruins the value, numismatic value of this coin. If it didn't have these scratches, I mean, you know, I think $9 to $10. Actually, thinking back, I think Redbook said it was like a $25 to $30 coin, something like that. But I think I'd be very lucky to get $9 to $10 for this. But it is a beautiful, beautiful coin, something I'll probably just hang on to. Okay, well, I'm going to change my setup here just real quick, and I want to show you what's going in the Roosevelt book, and then I think we're all done. But this was a ton of fun. We got a ton of dimes. I'll come back and give you a count of exactly how many dimes we had. It was a whole bunch, though. So this Roosevelt dime book, starting in 1946, is a book that I picked up in the first coin collection that I ever bought. I did do a video on that on YouTube. It was full, and if you look here now, you'll see there's a bunch of holes because I have popped out coins. So everywhere that you see a hole, and actually this page is just junk because it ends in 65 and there's no silver in it. So I'll probably pop those and just keep these first two sheets so that'll be silver. But everywhere you see a hole is a coin that I'm able to upgrade. And here they are, and I'm not going to go through each and every one, but we were able to quite substantially upgrade, especially when you get into the upper 50s and 60s, the coins that were in there. And I've already popped out the old ones, so you couldn't compare the damage anyway. But these are all much nicer coins than was in there previously. And I can't remember if this is a PD and S or maybe one's a duplicate, and I got to look at it a little more closely. But we'll be upgrading that entire book just about, or all those holes, with much nicer silver dimes. So we are going to go ahead and wrap this video up here. I've gone ahead, I've counted everything. We ended up with $96.30 worth of silver dimes in this collection. As far back as 1875 all the way up to 1964. I'll go ahead and show you. I've replaced all of those coins in the book, so we've got some shinier, nicer looking stuff in here than we had previously. There's still some uglies that will, I'm sure, upgrade over time. But all in all, very happy to have gotten so many upgrades out of there. And I don't think I showed this book. We didn't fill too much. We replaced a few coins in here. But we didn't fill much. I think I only added 1 or 2 coins to this book based on the coins that I had, but I did replace a few. So this Mercury book is coming together. With that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's shorter than the quarter video. If you have any feedback on how, a better way to do this, I'd love to hear from you. It's just tough when you have this many coins. And I scoped many of these. Like I said, I wasn't going to scope the 64s. I literally scoped every 64 looking for DDRs and whatnot. But this was a blast for me. I just love playing with all this silver. I hope you guys enjoy looking at all this silver. And as I said in part 1, I am going to schedule a live stream, and either, just sell a lot of this off or auction it off. We'll see. Or maybe even auction it off over time. We'll see. But a lot of this stuff is going to go back up for sale. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead, head down right now below here and click on that like button. Click on that subscribe button. Then click on that little bell and select all so you get notified when I launch I think it's now 4? The next part of this video where we're going to be looking at all those nickels that I purchased. And I know I got a handful of rolls of silver and buffalo nickels in there. So that video is going to be a hoot. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.